Hello there, only one Kenobi here, only one, and welcome back to another episode of TVC Needs. And well, this is just a delightful spread here in front of me. I actually found so many figures, more than I realised that I needed and wanted actually, that I've actually got more than 5 honourable mentions. So I've got a top 5 for you. I'm just going to give you an overview of what we've got here. All this is brilliant fair game for TVC. Bespin Luke, you're asking? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. There's a solid reason why that's a big need for me and for others. But then there's a whole array of characters here that you may have seen before on various releases of lines of figures throughout the years, and also even in early depictions of the modern vintage collection, be it the VOTC or whatever. But still, let's get down to the nitty gritty, and I'm going to tell you what my top 5 are first. In the background, you might notice a Wampa there, and you might notice that here. Now, these obviously can't enter the competition, or the list, or whatever you want to call it, because they aren't really figures, characters, are they? They're more boxed items, play sets. What are they called now? Rigs, or whatever you want to call them. Never had a mini rig as a child. No, I think I had the what do you call it now? On the end or bite. Would that qualify as a rig? Was that a vehicle? I don't know. Let's go in on number 1. The elephant in the room for myself, in particular, is the AT-AT driver. This has got to be done. Now, I feel a bit daft putting this in because they have announced, or have they? They have announced the completion of the 96, or is that just hearsay? They said something about the 96. Have they guaranteed we're going to get it? Anyway. It has to start with this, and I'm putting this in this video because that needs to be done. Not only is it a brilliant, iconic card back, but it could be an awesome figure as well. This in itself is an awesome figure. If you're unfamiliar with this release of the AT-AT driver, this is the 5 POA AT-AT driver that came out in the Legends line. Not done in the Legends animated style, but it came out in that packaging. And look at it. It is brilliant. The head sculpt is the best they've ever done for the AT-AT driver, and the car back is just sublime. And this one character in particular has a lot of nostalgic pull for me. I just remember having the AT-AT driver before any other figure. It might potentially be my first ever figure, Star Wars figure in the 80s. Now I have not 1 but 2 Bespin Lukes, and they are facing away because this is how I have them on the shelf, you see. Now, what annoys me about Bespin Luke is that they brought this figure out again. They reissued it in 2019 or 2020 maybe, I don't know, but anyway, the figure was all right. The VCO6, is it, or 07, 04, 05, I can't remember. Bruh. This is the first release of it. They did kind of update it, but not much. But I still I have him facing forward on some parts of my shelf, but on one bit I have him facing away, facing Vader. But we've had him in the vintage collection. But one thing we don't have is the most beautiful car back ever for Mark Hamill, and it is the walking shot. I really want that done in my lifetime in the modern vintage collection. Why they haven't already is beyond me. And I just thought I'd show you this one here. This is the Vintage Saga collection Luke, Bespin Luke, which is a terrible figure when you're looking at him that way. But actually, facing away, he looks awesome. The posture, the pose. So, I just wanted to show you a couple of figures, but what I'm trying to say is that I want them to give us another Bespin Luke just so we can get that alternative card back. And let me know what you think about that. So that's 2. This, without question, is in my top 5. It is 2-1B. So this would be number 3. 2-1B is an absolute classic, although I might kidding myself. I mean, if they're going to do the 96, they do him. So I'm just realising I've actually just shelved the these. You might see some Ugnaughts in the background there, which I just hid. They were going to be in my top 5 as well, but I pushed them away thinking, oh, well, they're going to do it in the 96. But then again, nothing seems likely anymore. What with the bubble gate or blister gate, whatever you want to call it, plastic reduction, which is cobblers. But still, anyway, 2-1B is just brilliant. This droid in itself is fantastic. It's this figure, I'm sorry, is from the Power of the Force 2. But yeah, I bring that out soon. They should have done that in the 20th anniversary. 30th anniversary. I'm getting it all wrong. The 40th anniversary. God damn it, I'm getting it really wrong. General Rieekan would be number 4. I just thought that this is just quite an interesting choice. He wasn't in the 96, but you know, he would be a great car back. He's a great character. Waldorf salad and all that. But you know, this figure also is really sort of, He needs some articulation. His arms are outspread. I'm quite lucky to have one that isn't yellowed as well, but that's a really good head sculpt, that. And I like Rieekan. He's one of my favourite commanders or leaders of the Rebel Alliance. And there you are. So is that 4? And then Ozzel I've put in just to bang the drum of we need a new officer. But I love this figure. Ozzel's got his own identity. He's got his little tash. You know, is it Shearer, the guy who plays him? I can't remember, but he used to be a strict headmaster in a kids soap opera called Grange Hill about a secondary school, or a high school as you Americans would call it, or Canadians, whoever. But yeah, Mr. Bronson he was called, that was the name of the character. But I always used to just love seeing him in The Empire Strikes Back. He's a pompous oaf, and Vader don't like him. And he swiftly gets rid of him. Speaking of Vader, actually, I am yet to open this. If you are unaware, I have a weekly show called Only One Fans, and I open one figure in that, or a couple of figures maybe, in each episode. I can't wait to get it open to go with my other Empire Strikes Back props and devices in the corner there. You might see Luke's back to tank in the background there. And that is 5. And I can't believe I've left out the bloody Ugnaughts. Oh, man. So I just whipped this video together really quickly, you know, but the Ugnaughts need to be done, and they should have been done. I'm praying to God they are going to get done. They've got lots of options. The ones you're seeing here are a couple of different ones. This one is a custom made by a friend of the channel called Lau. He does brilliant customs, and he sent me that. And in the background you've got the Power of the Force 2 ones, plus the vintage 80s one, who's facing forward. So anyway, bottom line is they need to do an Ugnaught without question. Should have been done already in the Bespin freezing set. You know, come on Hasbro, what are you doing? And then let's move on to the honourable mentions. Honourable mention, oh my god, he's gone flying. Honourable mention number 1 is this snowtrooper here. Not just any snowtrooper. One could argue they haven't done the Stormtrooper Huff either in Vintage Collection, although he has been done in the VOTC Vintage Saga, so he's been modernised and put in that. But what I'm saying is, this is a character in himself. He stands by the side of General Veers. All troops will debark for ground assault. And you blink and you'll miss it, and you see this guy standing, and then he walks off. And this guy was in the, and then he said Vintage Collection, the Orange Card Black Series line. Bruh. Again, I'll say it, the bane of my life. Really disappointed with that line of figures, because there were so many characters in that, like this lady here, that could have been brilliant cards in themselves. Just imagine, we could have already had a Snowtrooper Commander in the TVC, but we didn't. But still, because of the fact that it's coulda, woulda, shoulda, he's in my honourable mentions, because, you know, halfway there we've had a decent figure for the loose people. But yeah, it should have been done already. But I would like them to do that. Same with Torrin Farr, that would be awesome, that, you know. Small character in the film, a bit like the ice cream guy. I used to think as a kid it was Leia. Stand by for iron control, fire, something like that she says. But it's not Leia, it is Torrin Farr. And this came out in the Black Series Orange card line as well. And, you know, it would have been lovely to just be on the TVC card back, which it wasn't. My next one, so what is that? There's 1, 2, 3, there's definitely more than 5 honourable mentions here, but let's just go through some characters. What the hell? I've talked about Bren Derlin before. This is Bren Derlin. As you know, in the TVC, they had a guy who was called the Hoth Commander. Hoth Snow Battle Commander, or so the Hoth Commander? Hang on a minute, I'm getting very confused here. The Rebel Soldier Commander or something like that, I don't know, but he had a moustache, and I always used to imagine it was this fella who said, all the troops are in. Still no card there from Skywalker or Solo. He gets the guy to just lower his voice because Leia's there upset. I always imagined it was him, so I always said, and I've done a video on this, that they should make Bren Derlin the man they make when they are ticking the box for the Commander, when they do get round to making him, if they are focused on the 96, which is very hard to tell nowadays. Every Hasbro live stream I see, I'm seeing clone after clone after clone after clone after clone after bloody clone, and you never see any sweet goodness from the original trilogy like this. They need to get this done, and done soon, especially if we're racing against time for the bubble scenario, whatever the hell that is. But still, here's another character I think would be good on a vintage card back. You did see it in the Black Series 6-inch. They gave you I think they gave you a Luke, and they gave you an R2 as well. That's why these are just 2-in-1 character here, because I've got so many characters. So either an R2 Dagobah card or a Luke training Dagobah card would be awesome. And then that is it. My fifth, is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I just thought I'd talk about bounty hunters. There will be people shouting at their screens maybe, or typing in the comments section that we need Bosk and IG-88. And we also need this fella, which is, out of the 3, I'd say I'd want him more. All 3 of these have been out in previous releases on modern card backs. These 2 are in the Vintage Saga collection. 2006, maybe 2007, I can't remember. But, so we kind of have had them on a modern card back. This guy, not so much, because they did bring him out in the commemorative double pack, which was Forlom and Zuckuss. But the figures that they put in those, and they were misnamed or incorrectly named as they were in the 80s, but the figure they put in for him was all washed out. The colour was really bland and beige, just like the vintage 80s. But this is I think it's from the Legacy collection, this. And look at him. That is just like a vintage collection figure would be, nicely coloured and weathered and So they could potentially put him out on his own card back, much like they did Forlom. Although people would say he's called Forlom, but you know what I mean. Forlom, the droid, he was brought out in vintage VC, what was he now? VCO, can never remember the numbers. And equally, you could argue that he needs to be done and he needs to be done, although they've been brought out in VOTC. One could argue that, where is my Yoda now? They need their own modern release in the TVC, actually on a numbered card back. So now we've got Yoda now, as you can see, VC218. They need to do that for several characters. Yoda has now been done. There's loads of them, even going back to the original trilogy. You've got Han, Leia and Luke yet need to be done in TVC. Would you believe that? The first 12 versions of those characters. So there's tons. I know I've gone a little bit overboard there, but let's just chalk that down to it being a bit of a Empire Strikes Back overview. But these would be my top 5, although to be honest with you, having reflected on the whole lot, any of these would be just fair game to be done. I would love it. So please do it, Hasbro, and please keep the bubble for at least the original 96. Anyway, I have been Only One Kenobi, Only One. I hope you've kept up with all my waffle. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you are new, do subscribe. Tap the notification bell as well. I usually upload at 8 PM UK time or 3 PM US Eastern. But I may upload at any time, so make sure you have tapped the notification bell as well. And I'll see you for another video very soon. This has been Only One Kenobi, Only One. Out.
Okay.